Bob LaDu, words to live by. Pause and reflect. Words to live by. Pause and reflect. Bob LaDu.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, William, Peter, and Emma. When I was in high school, I had a Catholic counselor, Father Weber. And I went through some trying times in my high school years. And he used to say to me, Bob, just pause and reflect. Those words didn't really have that much meaning to me at that point. I tried to do what he said, but it just didn't sink in. However, as I contemplated my life at that time and the challenges I was going through, I made some decisions. One of the decisions was that I was not going to swear. Now, I became a lonely person because all of my friends had bad language. I didn't smoke. That cut me out of another group of people. And I didn't drink. So I was always the designated driver if I was invited at all. You might think that in high school that's kind of an exception, but in my high school that wasn't. We had regular keggers, cast parties, after the football game parties. It was typical of the kids that were going to school in my area. So I did pause for a while and I reflected about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to live my life. And it wasn't like my contemporaries, which set me apart. I don't know if it made me unique, but I want you to consider this same strategy because in life there are always situations where you have to make a decision or not. And I say that when faced with a choice, make the choice. Take action. Gandhi said that to act alone we have a choice, even though we can't control the consequences. So make the choice and be an actor, not a reactor. I want to give you an example. When I was very young, I had lots of siblings. There were 9 of us. And my mother and father both worked. So as you can imagine, I was left to my own devices to entertain myself. My mother happened to be home one day and I complained, Mom, what is there to do? And apparently 7 of my other brothers came by and asked her the same question. And by the time she got to me, she just said, Bobby, take a hike. And I thought, what a great idea. So off I went, 5 years old, hiking down the trails to a place called the Milwaukee River. I lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And there I found this little boy about my size, probably 5 years old as well. And we were going along the river and there were box turtles that we were catching. And of course there were the snapping turtles that we had to be very careful of. And we came to this old ruined dock that was nothing more than a frame. And the Milwaukee River is kind of slow moving, but it has this green algae type stuff growing on top of it. So it looks beautiful. And the frogs and the turtles would pop their head out through the algae and we could watch them. Well, this boy that I had become friends with started balancing his way out onto the dock and reaching down to try to catch one of the turtles. And as he reached, he fell in. Now I'm sitting back in the very back, still on shore, and I decided to act. There was no one else around, and he wasn't coming up. And I sort of understood about where he went, so I went over there, I kind of made my way along the dock, and I wrapped my legs around it, and I leaned down, and I put my hand in through the gunk, and reached as far down as I could, and sure enough, I felt the top of his head, and I grabbed his hair, and I pulled him up. Now, you would think that somebody might be happy that I saved their life. I don't think he even felt the fact that I was pulling him up. But he got up, he climbed back onto the dock, and we made our way back to the shore, and he was so upset because he got stuck in the muck that was at the bottom of the river, and he couldn't get out. But when I pulled him up, his shoes slid off. And the one thing he was worried about was that his mother was going to kill him. Well, I would just like to say that he went on to live a life, even though he may have been punished, and hopefully he made something of it. I often say that in life we're often faced with stumbling blocks. But stumbling blocks cease to be stumbling blocks when you pause and reflect and create an image in your mind of how those stumbling blocks can become a bridge or a cathedral. I like to say a bridge because sometimes we put up these stumbling blocks and it prevents us from understanding one another. But when we build a bridge of understanding with those stumbling blocks, they become stepping stones. William James said, "The greatest discovery of our generation is that human beings can alter their life simply by altering their attitude." Henry David Thoreau said, "Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you have imagined." Buddha said that in a stream, in the confrontation of a stream and a rock, the stream will always win, not by strength, but by persistence. It's at times like this when I remember Father Weber saying, pause and reflect. 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones that you did. So throw off the bowliness, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds, explore, dream, discover. That was said by Mark Twain. Mr. Toastmaster.